You ever notice how fast things can set you off? Someone says something rude. Your phone buzzes with a text that feels off. Or maybe a driver cuts you off when you're already late. Your body tightens, your mind spins, and suddenly the whole day feels ruined. Yeah, I've been there too, more times than I'd like to admit. But lately, I've been learning something that's changed the way I see all that noise. Nobody can truly trigger you unless you let them. Maybe that sounds simple, maybe even a little cliche, but it's true. The real power isn't in what happens, it's in how we choose to meet it. So if you're watching this right now, take a breath. Let's slow down together. This isn't a lecture. It's more like a quiet talk between friends about how to stop giving away your peace so easily. And hey, if this feels like the kind of space you need more of in your life, calm, understanding, real, make sure you hit subscribe and join our little circle here. All right, let's talk. When I was younger, I thought being strong meant being quick. Quick to defend, quick to prove, quick to argue back. I thought silence meant weakness. Now I see it's the other way around. The one who stays calm in the middle of the storm. That's real strength. We live in a world that runs on reaction. Everybody's got an opinion, and we're told to speak louder, respond faster, never back down. But the truth is, every time we react without thinking, we hand over a little piece of ourselves. And the more we hand over, the emptier we feel. You probably know that feeling, when one bad comment or argument ruins your whole mood. You carry it through the day, like a stone in your chest. And for what? Most of the time, it's not even about you. It's about someone else's bad day or their pain or their need to be heard. But we take it personally, we absorb it, and we suffer for it. There's a saying from the Buddha that always stays with me. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. That hits deep, because every time we explode or get dragged into someone else's storm, it's not them we're hurting, it's ourselves. We lose our peace, our sleep, our joy, and we start believing the world is against us, when really it's just reacting to what we feed it. The good news is we can stop that cycle. We can learn to protect our peace, not by closing off, but by opening wisely. Let me tell you about Evelyn, an older woman I met at a mindfulness group a few years back. She told me, "My son never listens to me anymore. I give him advice, and he acts like I'm just nagging. I feel invisible." You could see the pain in her eyes. I asked, "When he ignores your advice, do you love him less?" She shook her head. "Of course not." I said, "Then maybe love him the same, but let go of needing him to listen." She was quiet for a while, then smiled through tears and said, "So I can love him and still be at peace?" Exactly. And that's what real detachment looks like. It's not cold. It's not giving up. It's just realizing that peace and control can't live in the same room. Maybe that's what growing up really means. Learning to care without trying to control. To be kind without letting your emotions be kidnapped by every situation. That's what detachment is. It's not about being numb. It's about being steady. When someone says something mean, you don't have to take it in. When plans fall apart, you don't have to fall apart with them. You can stay calm, breathe, and say to yourself, "It's okay. This is just part of life." Because it is. Things change. People disappoint. But peace is still possible. I remember one day, I got this nasty comment online. Someone wrote something like, "You're fake. You don't know what you're talking about." And oh me, I would have stayed up all night thinking about it, crafting responses, trying to prove them wrong. But that day, I just took a breath, smiled, and closed my laptop. I went outside, walked under the trees, and let it go. They threw a stone, but I didn't catch it, and that felt like freedom. That's what I want you to feel, that freedom, that quiet, steady kind of strength that doesn't depend on what's happening around you. Maybe right now, you're holding on to something heavy, someone's words, someone's betrayal, a situation you can't control. You keep replaying it, wishing it were different. I get it, but here's a small truth. The more you replay it, the more power it has over you. What if you just stopped? What if, instead of reacting, you just breathed? Maybe you'd realize it's not as big as it felt in your head. The world doesn't always need your reaction. Sometimes it just needs your silence, your patience, your understanding. I like to think of the mind like a lake. When something disturbs it, anger, fear, stress, the surface ripples. But deep down, the water stays calm. That deep calm is still in you. It never leaves. It just gets buried under noise. You can touch it again. You just have to stop stirring the water. Try this. Next time someone upsets you, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what if I don't respond right now? You'll be amazed at how much peace lives in that simple pause. And I know it's not easy. We live in a time when everyone feels a need to be right, to win, to speak. But maybe real wisdom isn't about being right. Maybe it's about being free. Because the truth is, every argument won online, every mic drop moment, none of that feels good for long. But peace lasts. So tonight, I want to invite you to do something different. Instead of reacting, practice returning to yourself, to your breath, to that still place inside. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to shout. If this speaks to you, if it makes you feel a little lighter, a little softer, I'd love for you to like this video, share it with someone who needs calm, and subscribe so we can keep walking this path together, not toward perfection, but toward peace. And maybe tonight, when you lie in bed and the thoughts start spinning, just whisper to yourself, it's okay. I don't have to react. I can just breathe. Because that breath, that pause, is where your real power begins. You don't need to control the world. You just need to stop letting it control you. And when you do, you'll find something beautiful waiting on the other side. Silence, peace, and a kind of strength that no one can take away. You ever notice how sometimes you walk into a room and feel the tension before anyone even says a word? Maybe someone's upset or tired or just carrying bad energy. And somehow, you pick it up like it's yours. Your mood drops, your shoulders tighten, and you don't even know why. It's like you caught a cold you didn't ask for. That's what most of us do. We absorb what's around us. People's anger, their stress, their sadness. We take it in, thinking we're being kind, but really we're just dragging their storm into our own sky. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could just watch it, like clouds passing, without letting it soak you? That's what I've been learning, to observe instead of absorb. There's this small story I love. One day, a man asked the Buddha, how do I stop people from hurting me with their words? The Buddha smiled and said, if someone offers you a gift and you refuse to take it, to whom does it belong? The man thought for a second and said, to the one who offered it. Exactly. When someone throws anger or judgment or negativity at you, you don't have to take it. You can let it stay with them. You can walk away without carrying it home. That doesn't mean you ignore people's pain. It means you stop confusing their pain with your peace. You can be compassionate without being consumed. I remember visiting my friend Anna once. She was overwhelmed. Her husband had lost his job. Her teenage daughter was acting out, and she just poured everything on me. 2 hours later, I left her house heavy. Like all that pain had crawled into me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Then I realized something. I wasn't helping her by drowning with her. I needed to learn how to be there without carrying it. So next time I listened, I hugged her, but before I walked in, I took a deep breath and told myself, her story is hers. My peace stays mine. That changed everything. She felt heard. I stayed calm. And for the first time, I didn't leave her house feeling broken. Maybe you got someone in your life like that. Someone who drains you every time you talk. They complain, gossip, or unload all their problems. And before you know it, you feel like you're the one living their life. It's okay to care, but you don't have to carry. You can stand beside someone without losing your balance. You can listen with empathy, but keep your peace anchored. It takes practice, but it's possible. Think of yourself like a lake. No matter what falls in, a leaf, a rock, a storm, the water always settles back into stillness. That's what your mind can do. Someone might throw words like stones, and yes, there will be ripples. But if you don't keep stirring it, it becomes calm again. The practice is simple. Not easy, but simple. When someone speaks with anger, instead of matching it, observe it. Notice their tone. Notice your breath. Feel your heart beating faster, and then do nothing. Don't reply. Don't defend. Just breathe and watch. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about remembering you have a choice. Because here's the truth. Emotions are contagious, but peace is too. When you stay calm, sometimes people around you soften without even realizing why. One of my favorite moments was with my nephew. He was having one of those teenage fits, yelling, slamming doors, saying awful things. My sister was exhausted, ready to yell back. I just sat there quietly, watching. He looked at me like, "Why aren't you saying anything?" I said softly, "I'll talk when you're ready to listen." And then silence. The storm passed. 10 minutes later, he came back and said, "I'm sorry." That's the thing about calm. It's powerful without shouting. You don't have to meet fire with fire. Sometimes you just need to stop adding wood. Every day, life throws things at us. Harsh words, unfair moments, people who dump their chaos on us. But we don't have to let that chaos live rent-free inside our heads. We can say, "That's not mine," and let it pass. Try this next time someone snaps at you or criticizes you unfairly. Don't react. Notice how it feels in your body. Maybe a tight chest, a warm face, a fast heartbeat. Just breathe through it. Let it rise and let it fall. You don't need to fix it. You just need to let it go. Because you're not your thoughts. You're not even your feelings. You're the one watching them come and go. That awareness, that's your freedom. Imagine someone hands you a burning coal. If you grab it, you get burned. If you don't, it just drops and fizzles out. That's what it means to observe instead of absorb. You don't deny that the coal exists. You just choose not to hold it. People will always project their pain, their fear, their insecurity. You can't stop that, but you can stop making it part of your story. That's how you stay light, how you stay free. Now, I'm not saying this means you'll never get hurt again. You will. We all do. But you'll recover faster. You'll start catching those moments earlier, before they drag you under. It's like building emotional muscle. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you grow stronger. The world will keep spinning. People will keep being people. But inside, you'll start to feel like that calm lake again. Ripples on the surface, peace underneath. And maybe tonight, when you go to bed, you can practice this in a small way. Before you fall asleep, Think about the day. Notice if there's something you're still holding, maybe a small argument, a worry, a disappointment. Then imagine it as a balloon in your hand. Let it go. Watch it float away. Say to yourself, this is not mine anymore. Then breathe. That's how peace begins, not with control, but with release. If this message hits home, if it reminds you that you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders, then go ahead and tap that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe if you want to keep growing this peaceful corner together. Remember, you don't have to absorb other people's storms. You can watch the rain without getting drenched. You can walk through the noise and stay quiet inside. That's not weakness. That's mastery. That's peace. So next time someone throws you their chaos, don't catch it. Just smile, take a breath, and let it pass. You'll be amazed at how light life feels when you stop carrying what was never yours. Have you ever said something too quickly, something you didn't really mean, and then spent hours wishing you could take it back? Maybe it happened during an argument or while you were tired. Or maybe it was one of those moments when you felt attacked and your words just came out sharp. Yeah, I've been there too. And I'll tell you something I've learned the hard way. Most of the time, what hurts us isn't the problem itself. It's how fast we react to it. The pause, that tiny, quiet moment before we respond. That's where real power lives. Not the kind of power that controls others, but the kind that keeps you from losing yourself. I used to think that reacting quickly meant being strong. Speak up, defend yourself. Don't let people walk over you. But the truth is, when you react without thinking, you give away your peace in exchange for a moment of ego. And afterward, you're the one left carrying the regret. It's like being caught in a storm. You can either stand still and wait for it to pass, or you can chase the lightning and get burned. When you pause, you stop chasing the storm. There was this time I was driving home after a long, stressful day. Someone cut me off in traffic. No signal, no apology, and I felt that heat rise up in my chest. Omi would have honked, yelled, maybe even sped up to prove a point. But that day I just sighed, turned up the radio, and said quietly, go ahead. 2 words. And just like that, the storm inside me disappeared. I didn't lose my peace over a stranger I'd never see again. That was the first time I realized how powerful one small pause could be. We think strength means reacting fast. But maybe real strength is staying calm when everything in you wants to explode. It's the ability to hold your ground, not out of pride, but out of peace. The Buddha once said that between what happens to us and how we respond, there's a space. And in that space lies our freedom. At first, that space feels so small you can barely find it. But with practice, it grows. The pause becomes longer, softer, stronger, like a breath you can finally take before the chaos hits. There was a woman I met named Grace. She told me she used to argue with her teenage son every single night. It always started small, homework, chores, curfew, but by the end, both of them were shouting. Then one evening, she decided to do something different. When he started yelling, she didn't respond. She just breathed. She let him finish. And when he finally stopped, she said, I love you and I'll talk when you're ready to listen. Then she walked away. The next morning, her son apologized. That night, they talked calmly for the first time in months. All because she found the pause, the space between the trigger and the reaction. And that's the thing. The pause doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It's the moment where emotion ends and understanding begins. When you rush to react, you act out of pain. When you pause, you respond out of clarity. You can try this with anything. An argument, a criticism. even your own thoughts. Whenever something upsets you, don't respond right away. Take one breath. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say going to bring me peace or more pain? Most of the time, that one breath will save you from hours of regret. I remember talking to my friend Michael once. He told me his biggest problem was his temper. He said, "It's like my mouth moves before my mind catches up." I smiled and told him, "Then you just need to give your mind a head start." He laughed, but a few months later, he told me he'd started practicing pausing before responding, especially with his wife. He said, "I don't win as many arguments now, but my home feels peaceful again." And that's when it clicked for me. The pause doesn't just calm you down, it changes the whole atmosphere around you. When you pause, you give the other person something rare, space. You give them room to cool off, to think, to be heard. And sometimes that's all they really needed. Most arguments aren't about being right. They're about being understood. And silence, used gently, can say more than words ever could. You see, the pause isn't about shutting people out. It's about letting wisdom in. It's a doorway between reaction and peace. And every time you walk through it, you choose freedom over chaos. You can start small. Next time someone says something rude, don't rush to clap back. Breathe. Next time you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up right away. Pause. Notice how your body feels. Notice the space opening between what happened and what you'll do next. That's the pause. That's your power. And over time, it gets easier. You go from reacting instantly to responding intentionally. You start seeing situations for what they are, temporary. You stop saying things you don't mean. And you start living in a quieter kind of strength, one that no one can shake. It doesn't mean you'll never feel anger or frustration again. You will. We all do. But you'll learn how to meet it differently. You'll feel the wave rise. And instead of being swept away, you'll just breathe and let it roll past. You'll realize that you don't have to control the wave. You just have to ride it until it fades. And when it fades, you'll still be standing calm, clear, steady. Sometimes people think peace comes from having a quiet life. But real peace comes from learning to be quiet inside, no matter what's happening around you. That's what the pause gives you. It's a doorway back to yourself, a way to return home, even in the middle of chaos. And maybe that's what the world needs more of right now. People who know how to pause before they hurt, before they judge, before they speak. Because when one person pauses, it ripples. It softens the air. It invites calm. So tonight, maybe you can practice it too. Next time you feel the urge to react, stop, breathe. Let the first emotion pass before you decide what comes next. Because you are not that first reaction. You are the awareness that watches it. And that awareness, that's your real power. If this message sits gently in your heart, if it reminds you that calm isn't weakness, it's strength, then take a moment right now. Tap like, share this with someone who needs a little peace, and subscribe so we can keep walking this journey together. Because one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't need to win every argument or prove every point. You know that moment when someone snaps at you, a stranger, maybe a friend, and before you even realize it, you're already on fire inside, your chest tightens, words pile up in your throat, and all you want to do is throw that same fire back. Yeah, I know that feeling too. But lately, I've been learning something softer, something that saved me from so many useless fights. You don't have to feed every fire that starts around you. Most of us were taught that when someone comes at you angry, you defend yourself right away. You prove your point. You protect your pride. But anger is like a flame. The more air you give it, the bigger it grows. And every time you jump into someone else's anger, you end up burning right alongside them. A while ago, I was at a family dinner. Everyone was tired, voices getting louder, and out of nowhere, my uncle started yelling about something small, a comment I made about health, I think. He slammed his hand on the table and said, "You think you know everything." For a split second, I felt that familiar rush, the one that says, "Don't let him talk to you like that." But I paused. I looked at him and realized he wasn't really mad at me. He'd had a long week. He was hurting in ways none of us could see. So instead of arguing, I just smiled softly and said, "You might be right, Uncle." Then I took a sip of water. Silence. The fire burned out right there. That's when it hit me. You don't put out a fire by throwing more flames. You let it die on its own. There's this simple truth that sounds almost too gentle to believe. Hatred never ends by more hatred. The Buddha said that centuries ago, and it's still true today. Anger doesn't heal anger. Only understanding does. Only calm does. When someone throws their negativity at you, it's like they're handing you a torch. If you take it, now you're both on fire. But if you don't, if you refuse to carry it, the fire stays with them and it slowly fades. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. It's knowing that not every battle is worth the bruises. Think about the last time someone really upset you. Maybe they lied. Maybe they insulted you. Maybe they ignored your effort. You probably wanted to fix it, to fight it, to defend your side. But did it help? Did it make you feel lighter? Or did it leave you even more tired? That's a trap. Anger promises control, but only steals peace. Every argument you win by shouting is a battle you lose inside yourself. I used to react to everything. If someone sent me a rude text, I replied twice as fast. If someone criticized my work, I defend it line by line. It felt like standing up for myself. But really, I was just draining myself. Now, I do something different. I pause. I breathe. And I ask one simple question. Is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. And here's something no one tells you when you start doing that. Silence confuses people. When someone expects a fight, and you give them calm instead, they don't know what to do with it. They throw insults, waiting for you to bite. But when you stay centered, not cold, just peaceful, you take away their control. They can't fight a wall of stillness. I've seen it happen at work, in families, online. People feed on reaction. When you stop reacting, they run out of fuel. That's how you win, by not playing. Letting the fire burn out doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you choose peace over pride. It means you understand that your energy is sacred. You don't waste it on every spark that appears. You can still set boundaries. You can still speak your truth, but from calm, not chaos. Because calm words build, angry ones destroy. I once worked with a guy who criticized me constantly. No matter what I did, he'd find something wrong. At first, I tried to defend myself. Then I realized he just needed to feel important. So instead of arguing, I started thanking him. Good point. I'd say, I'll think about that. At first, he looked shocked. After a few weeks, he stopped criticizing me altogether. Not because I changed him, but because I stopped feeding his fire. Here's what's beautiful about that. Every time you refuse to react, you teach your mind a new habit. You're rewiring yourself for peace. Instead of anger leading the way, patience does. Instead of noise, stillness. You start realizing that being calm doesn't mean being passive. It means being in charge of yourself. The more you choose peace, the stronger you become. You stop being controlled by moods, by people, by situations. You start leading with steadiness. It's not easy, though. There will be moments when your blood boils, when you want to prove your point, when silence feels unfair. That's okay. Just remember, every fire needs oxygen, and silence is the lack of oxygen. You can starve a fire just by refusing to breathe life into it. Next time someone attacks you with words, imagine their anger as a flame. See it flicker, see it try to reach you. Then step back and think, do I really want to hold that? If you don't, it can't hurt you. Sometimes people will say, you've changed. You don't fight like you used to. That's when you'll know you're growing. Because peace isn't about never being angry. It's about knowing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It's about being strong enough to stay soft. When you reach that point, you stop being pulled into every drama. You stop lighting your own soul on fire just to prove you're right. And that's when life gets lighter, quieter, warmer. So tonight, if someone's fire still burns in your mind, their words, their attitude, their unfairness, don't feed it. Let it burn itself out. Let the smoke fade. And while it does, take care of your peace like it's something precious, because it is. The world doesn't need more people shouting. It needs more people who know how to stand quietly in the middle of the flame and stay calm. And maybe that can be you. If this message touched you, if it reminded you that silence isn't weakness but freedom, tap like, share it with someone who needs a little peace, and subscribe so we can keep growing this calm space together. Because when you stop fighting every fire, you start lighting a different kind of flame, the one that warms, not burns. And that's the kind of fire worth keeping alive. Have you ever noticed how loud the world feels lately? Everywhere you go, someone's talking, arguing, posting, proving. There's so much noise, online in conversations, even in our own minds. And sometimes the loudest thing we can do is to say nothing at all. I used to think silence was awkward, that it meant weakness or not knowing what to say. But as I've grown older, I've learned something different. Silence, real silence, is not empty. It's full of understanding. It's not that you don't have an answer. It's that you've stopped needing to prove one. A few years ago, I had an argument with someone I really cared about. I can't even remember what it was about now. Something small that grew too big, too fast. We both said things we didn't mean. And when it ended, I was left sitting there with all these words in my throat. Words I want to say just to win. But something inside whispered, don't. So I didn't. I sat in silence. And for the first time, I actually heard what was happening inside me. The hurt, the pride, the fear. It wasn't peace right away, but it was the beginning of it. That's the strange beauty of silence. It doesn't solve everything, but it helps you see what's really going on. The Buddha once said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Sometimes even that one word isn't needed, because when your heart is steady, your presence speaks louder than anything you could say. We often think the world needs more opinions, but maybe what it really needs is more quiet, more people who can listen without planning their next sentence, more people who can be still without feeling the need to fill the space. There's a man I know named Henry. He's 72, calm, slow-spoken, gentle. When people talk to him, he listens in this way that makes you feel safe, like you can finally breathe. He doesn't rush to respond. Sometimes he just nods and lets a few seconds pass before he says anything. One day, I asked him why he pauses so much. He smiled and said, because I don't want to speak from noise. I want to speak from peace. That stuck with me. How often do we talk just to fill silence? How often do we say too much, trying to defend ourselves or fix something that isn't even broken? What if we just didn't? What if we let silence do the heavy lifting? I've learned that not every question deserves an answer. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every misunderstanding has to be cleared right away. Sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is stay quiet and let truth reveal itself over time. It's funny. People think silence means nothing is happening, but it's often a moment when everything starts to make sense. It's when emotions settle, clarity returns, and you can finally see things for what they are. There was a time when someone said something cruel about me behind my back. It hurt, of course. The old me would have confronted them instantly, but I didn't. I stayed silent. I let time do its thing. And you know what? A few months later, that same person came and apologized. They said, "You never reacted," and that made me realize I was wrong. That's when I realized silence doesn't mean you lose. It means you're letting truth win on its own. And I know staying quiet isn't easy. When someone accuses you of something unfair, your ego screams, defend yourself. When someone disrespects you, everything in you wants to prove your worth. But sometimes silence says what words can't. I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it. That's strength. That's peace. That's what real maturity looks like. Here's something powerful. Silence protects your energy. Arguing drains it. Explaining drains it. Overthinking drains it. But silence saves it. You start realizing how much lighter life feels when you stop reacting to every little thing. When you don't respond, you're not ignoring, you're protecting. You're choosing calm over chaos. And that choice, made again and again, becomes your peace. Let me tell you another story. A woman I met named Rose lost her husband a few years ago. She told me that after he passed, she stopped talking as much. At first, people thought she was depressed. But she said, "I'm not sad. I'm just learning to listen again, to life, to nature, to my own heart." That hit me deeply, because silence isn't just about what you don't say to others. It's also about what you stop saying to yourself. When you stop arguing with your own thoughts, when you stop replaying what went wrong, that's when peace finally has room to sit beside you. There's a moment that comes to everyone, when you realize you don't have to explain your soul to anyone. You don't have to prove your kindness, your worth, or your truth. You can just live it quietly and let your peace do the talking. Because the people who are meant to understand you will feel without words. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means mastery. It means you've learned the difference between reacting and responding, between proving and knowing. It's saying, "I see your chaos, but I'm not joining it." And here's the funny thing. The more silent you become, the more people start to listen. They feel the calm in your energy. They trust your words when you finally do speak. Because silence gives your voice weight. It gives your words meaning. It tells the world, I don't talk to be heard. I talk to bring peace. So maybe tonight you can practice that. When someone says something that doesn't deserve your energy, don't reply right away. When your mind starts replaying the same old worries, don't argue with it. Just breathe. Let the silence hold you. Because silence isn't emptiness. It's healing. It's where you meet yourself again. If this message makes you feel calm, even just a little, I want you to hold on to that. And if it helped you, please like this video, share it with someone who could use some quiet in their life, and subscribe so we can keep creating this peaceful space together. Remember, not every battle is worth your voice. Sometimes, peace speaks loudest when you say nothing at all. when you stop talking just to be right and start listening just to understand. That's when you step into wisdom. That's when you realize you don't need to shout to be strong. You just need to stay still long enough to hear your own heart. There's a moment in everyone's life when something breaks, a dream, a plan, a relationship, and no matter how hard you try, you can't fix it. You sit there thinking, why me? Why now? This isn't how it's supposed to be. And that's the moment where most of our suffering begins. Not because of what happened, but because we can't accept that it did. I've learned this slowly, painfully over the years. It's not life that hurts the most. It's our resistance to life. I remember when my father got sick. It happened so fast. One day he was working in the garden, laughing. The next he was in a hospital bed. I spent weeks saying, this can't be happening. Every test result felt like a fight against reality. But reality doesn't bend just because we don't like it. The more I resisted, the heavier everything felt. And one night, after another long day at the hospital, I sat in the car and whispered, okay, this is happening. That didn't make it hurt less, but it made me stop fighting what I couldn't control. And in that small moment, something softened. That's what acceptance feels like. Not joy, not approval. Just peace sneaking quietly through the cracks of what you can't change. The Buddha once said, suffering is not what happens to you. It's how you cling to what you wish would happen instead. We all crave control. We want things to go our way. We want people to act right. We want life to be fair. But life has never signed that contract with us. The world moves as it wants. And the harder we try to hold it still, the more it hurts when it moves. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to the truth of what is right now, even if it's hard. It's looking at the storm and saying, I can't stop the rain, but I can stop cursing the sky. Imagine you're caught in the rain without an umbrella. You can scream, run, curse the clouds, or you can walk slowly, let the drops hit your skin and think, okay, I'm wet, but I'm still here. That's the difference between suffering and peace. Both people get wet. Only one keeps breathing calmly through it. Acceptance doesn't make the rain stop, but it keeps you from drowning in it. A friend of mine, Maria, went through a painful divorce in her 60s. After 30 years of marriage, she told me, I can't believe he left. I wasted half my life. Her words broke my heart. But a few months later, she started gardening again, walking every morning, even smiling more. I asked her what changed. She said, one morning I woke up and realized I couldn't start healing until I stopped asking why. So I stopped. That's acceptance, not pretending you're okay, but deciding to stop fighting what already happened. We all have that battle somewhere, maybe with loss, aging, pain, or the mistakes we can't undo. But what if we could let go of the fight, even just a little? What if we could stop demanding that life be perfect and instead start saying, this is hard and that's okay? Because that's where peace begins. Not when everything gets better, but when you stop needing it to. Acceptance isn't a one-time thing. It's something you practice every day. Some days you'll do it well. Some days you'll fall back into frustration or grief. That's fine. It's part of it. Even acceptance takes patience. But little by little as you practice, something inside you starts to shift. You stop fighting so many battles. You stop trying to fix every broken thing. You begin to trust that even pain can have a purpose. You realize life isn't against you. It's just happening. And you don't have to be against it either. I once met an older man at a meditation retreat. He had lost his wife, his job, and his health all within a few years. I asked him how he managed to stay so calm. He smiled and said, I stopped asking life to be easy. I just asked to be steady. That sentence has lived in me ever since. Because that's what acceptance really gives you, steadiness. You stop swinging between hope and despair. You stop chasing control and start finding balance. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you stop trying to control what's beyond your reach. You still work hard. You still love deeply. But you understand that not everything belongs to you. Not every outcome. Not every person. Not every answer. And when you let go of what's not yours to hold, your hands finally open for what is. Sometimes acceptance is as small as saying, this hurts. And that's enough. Because honesty is a first step toward peace. You don't need to sugarcoat it or turn it into a lesson right away. Just name it. Let it be what it is. Pain loses its edge when it's seen clearly. One day, you'll look back and realize that every difficult thing you accepted made you softer. Not weaker, but gentler, wiser, freer. You'll realize that the world doesn't need to be fair for you to be at peace. It just needs you to stop fighting what already is. And when that happens, life starts feeling lighter. Because acceptance doesn't erase the pain. It erases the resistance around it. And without resistance, pain becomes growth. Loss becomes space. And change becomes life itself. So maybe tonight, take a deep breath and think of something you've been fighting. Something that keeps replaying in your mind. Then whisper softly to yourself, this is how it is right now. And even if I don't like it, I can still breathe through it. That's where freedom begins. Not when everything finally makes sense, but when you stop needing it to. If this spoke to your heart, if it helped you exhale a little, then please share and subscribe. Let's keep walking this path together. Learning how to make peace with life one breath at a time. Because real peace doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from accepting that you can't. And once you do, the world stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like home. Have you ever noticed how big changes rarely happen all at once? We want transformation to look dramatic. A breakthrough, a revelation, something huge. But the truth is, the most powerful changes in life usually happen quietly, little by little, in the background, through small moments that nobody sees. That's what I like to call the compound effect of focus. When you start showing up for your peace, not once, but every day, something starts to shift. It's not flashy. It's slow, steady, and sometimes even boring. But it works. When I first started practicing mindfulness, I honestly didn't get it. I'd sit for 5 minutes, try to focus on my breath, and my mind would go everywhere. After a few days, I thought, this isn't working. But one teacher told me, don't look for peace in a single breath. Look for it in the habit of breathing. At the time, I didn't really understand. Now I do. Every time you pause, every time you choose calm over chaos, every time you let something go, it adds up, piece by piece, moment by moment. You're training your mind to be steady. We live in a world of distractions. Everything pulls us in 1,000 directions. Phones, news, noise, opinions. Our attention is scattered everywhere, and that's why we feel so drained. When your mind is everywhere, your energy is nowhere. But when you pull your focus back, even for a few minutes, life starts to feel different. You start to feel different. It's like light through a magnifying glass. When it's scattered, it warms nothing. But when it's focused, it can set a fire. That's what your attention does. It's energy. And where it goes, your life grows. I remember meeting a woman named June. She was in her 70s, soft-spoken, with kind eyes. She told me she used to be anxious all the time. Every small problem would spin in her head for days. But she started doing something simple, 5 minutes of quiet every morning. No phone, no talking, no TV. Just breathing and listening. At first, it felt pointless, she said, but after a few months, her family noticed she was calmer. She didn't react as much. She laughed more. She told me, peace didn't come suddenly. It crept in like sunlight through curtains. That's the compound effect of focused energy, small, consistent calm moments that slowly reshape who you are. The Buddha once said that the mind is like a garden. Whatever you water grows. If you water anger, resentment, and fear, they flourish. But if you water patience, stillness, and love, they take root instead. And just like a garden, it doesn't grow overnight. It takes care, consistency, and time. Even one drop of water, given daily, can break a stone in time. So think of your peace that way. Every time you choose to breathe instead of react, you're watering your calm. Every time you forgive instead of argue, you're planting kindness. And every time you pause instead of explode, you're reshaping your whole inner world. Sometimes we expect too much of ourselves. We meditate for a week and think, why am I still stressed? We practice patience once and think, why didn't that person change? But this isn't about perfection. It's about practice. The power isn't in doing it once. It's in doing it again and again and again until it becomes who you are. That's how peace grows, not in giant leaps, but in quiet, steady steps. There was a man at one of my talks who told me, I keep trying to stay calm, but I keep losing it. I asked him, do you start over each time you lose it? He said, no, I just give up. And I said, that's why it's not working. Because life isn't about never falling. It's about how gently you return each time you do. Every time you come back to yourself, even after anger, sadness, or fear, you strengthen that inner muscle. That's how peace becomes your habit, not just your hope. Sometimes, people think growth has to be visible to be real. But the truth is, the biggest growth happens where no one can see. Inside your patience, your self-control, your quiet understanding. The world might not notice, but you will. You'll notice when something that used to upset you doesn't anymore. You'll notice when you can sit in silence and actually feel comfortable. You'll notice when your days don't drain you as much as they used to. That's how you'll know it's working. One of my favorite teachings says, you don't have to conquer the world. You just have to conquer this moment. And then the next one, and the next one after that. It sounds small, but imagine what happens if you keep doing that moment after moment, day after day. You end up changing your whole life. That's what the compound effect really is. 1,000 small choices for peace that turn into a life filled with it. So don't worry if you slip. Don't worry if you lose your calm sometimes. Just start again. Start again and again and again. Because every time you return to awareness, to breathing, to letting go, you're shaping something strong inside you. You're training your mind to come home faster each time it drifts. And one day, you'll look back and realize you don't get lost as often anymore. You return quicker. You react slower. You forgive easier. That's growth. That's the quiet kind of mastery no one applauds, but everyone feels. When your focus becomes steady, you'll notice something else too. The world starts to calm down around you. Not because it's changed, but because you have. Your calm becomes contagious. People feel safer near you. You bring stillness into rooms that used to drain you. And that's when you realize that peace was never something you had to find. It was something you had to practice. So if you're listening to this right now, I want you to remember something simple. Every small act of awareness counts. Every gentle choice matters. Nothing is wasted. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need to master peace overnight. Just focus your energy, a little bit at a time, on what matters most, your inner calm, because those small moments stacked together will become the foundation of a life that feels whole again. If this message feels true for you, if it reminded you that small steps can still lead to big peace, then please share, and subscribe so we can keep growing this community together. Remember, you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to keep coming back. One breath, one choice, one peaceful moment at a time. And before you know it, you'll look around and realize you can just change your mood. You change your life. You've made it here, through the noise, through the thoughts, through the storms we all live inside sometimes. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to feel it now. That quiet space inside you that doesn't move, no matter what the world throws your way. That space is your power. It's been there all along. This isn't the kind of strength people brag about. It's not loud. It doesn't shout or demand to be noticed. It just breathes. It waits. It watches. It knows that peace isn't something you chase. It's something you protect. When you stop letting every word, every situation, every small thing shake you, you begin to see how strong you really are. You realize you don't need to control everything to be okay. You don't need everyone to understand you to be at peace. You just need to trust yourself enough to pause, to breathe, and to let go. That's what this whole journey has been about. Learning to come back home to yourself. Through detachment, you learn that you can care deeply without clinging tightly. Through observation, you learn that you don't have to carry what isn't yours. Through the pause, you found the freedom to choose peace before reaction. Through non-resistance, you saw that every fire dies out when you stop feeding it. Through silence, you discovered that wisdom doesn't always need words. Through acceptance, you finally stopped fighting life, and it stopped fighting you. And through focused energy, you began shaping a quieter, steadier world from within. 7 small steps, each one simple, but together they change everything. I know it's not easy. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll get pulled back into the noise, the arguments, the worries, the endless thoughts. That's okay. Every time you come back, you grow stronger. Every time you breathe instead of react, you rise a little higher. Because peace isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you practice over and over like a heartbeat. So if you're sitting here now listening, breathing a little slower than before, that's it. That's peace. That's the beginning. When the world gets loud again, and it will, remember this. You don't have to match its volume. You can choose calm. When someone tries to pull you into their storm, you can stand like a mountain, rooted, still, unmoved. You can smile and say, "That's not mine to carry." Because your calm is not weakness. Your silence is not surrender. And your peace is not something anyone can take from you unless you hand it over. There's a beautiful kind of strength that comes from people who suffered but learned not to let pain harden them. They still love. They still forgive. They still show up with grace. That's the strength I hope you find. Not the kind that conquers others, but the kind that conquers the chaos inside. You'll know you found it when you can sit in the middle of a problem and still feel centered. When you can watch the rain fall and whisper, "I can handle this." When your peace no longer depends on anyone else doing the right thing. That's freedom. That's power. And if no one's told you this lately, you're doing better than you think. Even on the days you struggle, even when you fall back into old patterns. You're still learning. You're still showing up. You're still trying to stay gentle in a world that keeps shouting, and that matters. So take this moment to appreciate yourself. You made it here. You listened. You breathed. And in doing so, you gave yourself a gift most people never stop long enough to receive: awareness. If this journey has touched something inside you, if you found even a small piece of stillness, I want you to carry that forward. And if you like to keep walking this path together, to keep learning, keep growing, keep remembering who you are beneath the noise, then please share, and subscribe, not just for me, but for yourself, as a small promise to keep coming back. Because this space, this quiet corner of peace, will always be here waiting for you. Whenever life feels heavy, whenever the noise gets too loud, you can return, breathe, listen, and remember that calm isn't something far away. It's right here. One last thought before we end. If you take nothing else from all of this, remember this one thing. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. The storm will pass. It always does. But the sky remains. Still, open, unbroken. That's who you are. And nothing, no anger, no chaos, no pain can take that from you. So stay soft, stay steady, and keep walking gently. Because in a world full of noise, your calm is your greatest gift.